Hi everyone, this is Scott Giant Jr. and I just want to show you guys a fan format that my play group has been testing. We call it Twin Suns Alliances. It's essentially a two-on-two game of Twin Suns. It follows just about all the rules of Twin Suns, but with some deck building changes and also some changes to gameplay. So I'm going to walk you through what the gameplay changes are and then talk about deck building. So in Twin Suns alliances, players form teams of two. They create decks of the same alignment. You'll see that these are all villainous. You could build heroic, but we'll get into deck building later. But each team is going to share a base of their choosing. They will also receive a shield generator base, which represents the extra HP that their team has. Once this base is destroyed, then damage goes to this base, and the first team to destroy both of their opponent's bases wins the game. So one important thing in Twin Suns alliances is that it works very similar to Twin Suns, where each player has their own deck and their own hand and their own resources. Players do not share these. They do not share units they play either. Each player controls their own hand, resources, and units. That being said, since this is a team format, there are a few changes to the way that things work. Teammates share ground arena and space arena. One thing that means is that if player 1 here plays a sentinel to the ground arena, this sentinel protects all of his team's units in the ground arena and the base in the ground arena. So if player 2 over here has a Reckless Gunslinger out, their opponents cannot target this Reckless Gunslinger because this Sentinel, owned by his teammate, is in play. One additional clarification, I mentioned that a Sentinel will protect all of a team's units in that arena. The same applies for the space arena, even if they are not necessarily adjacent to each other. They are treated as, it's like Pac-Man style, it wraps from that side to that side. So if player 2 here plays a Space Sentinel over here, his teammates' units will also be protected on their side of the board. So the space arena is shared between players. In general, in this game, if a card specifies you, then it's referring to the player that played the card. But if a card says a friendly unit, that can refer to units controlled by either teammate. So friendly can be any unit on the team. You refers to the player that played or owns the card. So let's give a quick example of this in play. Let's say that player 1 over here has a target tagger. When played, you may attack with a unit. If it's a bounty hunter, it gets +2. Player 1 plays this. They may attack with Forlom, and since he's a bounty hunter, he would get +2 attack power. Since it says you, this effect cannot apply to his teammates' units. The action must be carried out by this player. However, let's say that player 1 plays Haymaker instead. Haymaker says give an experience token to a friendly unit. That unit deals damage equal to its power to an enemy unit in the same arena. If player 1 plays Haymaker, since a friendly unit can be any unit on the same team, player 1 could choose to give that experience token to IG-88, and then IG-88 would deal 7 damage to an enemy unit. During a game of Twin Suns Alliances, turn order goes like this, starting with the player with initiative, and then going to the opposite team across, so spot number 2, then coming back diagonal to team 1 again, and then going back to team 2 here. So player A on team 1, player A on team 2, player B on team 1, player B on team 2. This prevents teams from having 2 turns in a row. You can find more clarifications and rules in the rules document. Now that I've talked about the basics of how play works, let me talk about deck building. In Twin Suns alliances, each player follows the Twin Suns deck building rules with a few tweaks. Each team must choose either heroism or villainy as an aspect, and at least one leader for each player must have that chosen aspect. In this case, both players chose villainy, but this player could have easily swapped Boba Fett for Saw Gerrera, and that would have been fine. One important note is that teammates cannot choose the same leader. So if this player is using Jabba the Hutt Crime Boss, their teammate cannot also use Jabba the Hutt Crime Boss. They can use a different version of Jabba, for example, Wonderful Human Being. That would be fine, but we cannot have any duplicate leaders on a team. Once players have chosen their leaders, they must also choose a shared base. Now, not only is this base shared in terms of damage and gameplay, but this base is also shared in terms of aspects. So player 1 here must use the aspects on his leaders and the shared base, and player 2 must use the aspects on his leaders and the shared base. One final important deck building restriction is that between the two teammates, only one copy of any card can appear in their decks. So for example, if this player here, player 1, chooses to play Cad Bane in their Twin Suns deck, their teammate may not play this same Cad Bane in Pressed Now in their deck. That should wrap up this overview on Twin Suns Alliance. There are more details in the PDF, which I intend to release, along with some printable shield generator bases. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys get a chance to try it out for yourselves, and hopefully you enjoy it as much as we have. Also want to give a big shout out to Justin, aka UK Moody, for being the co-creator behind this format. We had the idea, we sort of had a brainwave at the same time for a format like this, and so shout out to him, and then also all the other players who've been playing it over the past 2 months at Red Hill Games. Thanks, you guys. We appreciate you all.